Welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast, the definitive music industry and gear podcast with Jonathan Gilmet and Frank Fleckenstein.
Hey guys, this is the Tone Lounge Podcast. We're at episode number 7. It's also a new year, so we're wishing everybody out there a happy new year 2024. Today with me this morning, as always, my good buddy Jonathan Gilmet, live from Belgium. And we also have a guest today. This is Richard Oliver from Amplify Creative Marketing.
Happy New Year and good morning.
So, how did everybody transition into this new year?
I was dancing around my living room having consumed a vast amount of single malt whiskey. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, It definitely answers. It definitely answers my question. I didn't do the same thing. I wish I had. I have a 3-year-old that I had to put down at 11, so an hour before midnight. And then we thought we go outside on the balcony and look at the fireworks. But the problem is the area where I live, it was like a fucking war zone because everybody buys like batteries. Everybody buys batteries of fireworks and then lights them up at the same time. And I have a video. It's 30 minutes long. I showed it to a couple of people and they're like, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. How did you get hurt?
Whereabouts do you live now?
I live in Cologne, in Germany.
A beautiful city, yes. Of course they let off huge amounts of fireworks. Yeah. It's a wonderful city. They want to show off, so okay, yeah. I get it.
100%. How about your New Year's, Jonathan?
Mine was a bit of a weird one because I've been having vertigo since I went to Spain about like two weeks ago, and vertigo and getting drunk on wine really kind of makes an interesting mix. It's a interesting melange of, I was like, everything's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? So yeah, that
it's like
was
getting drunk twice. That's
Belgians. It's like getting drunk twice, but without the fun part. So
yeah,
so there was that, and the Belgians also love their firework. So I live kind of like in the countryside between two small towns, and when I say between, I mean it's a 5-minute walk one way or 5-minute walk the other way. I'm like smack in the middle, and dude, fireworks all over the place. But the thing is, they're like cows and all sorts of farm animals, so they're going like shit fucking stir crazy. You hear like in the background. It's like, way to go, guys. Way to disturb the cows.
I've totally flip-flopped on fireworks because up until last year, we had a dog who hated fireworks. And so every time fireworks went off on like 5th of November or for England or New Year's Eve, I would go and stand outside and shake my fist at the neighbours and like shout swear words at them and be like, why can't you just buy silent fireworks? No one's impressed. Dog passed away last year and I like fireworks again. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, I do think there's something odd about adults enjoying large bangs, and the light bit I get, but the noise really, I'm not so sure we need it anymore, but I guess tradition is tradition, so we are where we are. It's probably harder to make them silent as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely.
I'm not a weapons expert.
No,
so we normally start this off with a little news section, and I'd like to share my screen with you guys so that you can see what I see. Hold on a second. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
It's a little blurry, but it's,
so the first thing
coming
actually,
through.
It takes a little time. But I'm gonna gonna read out what it says anyway. So one is a little bit older. It kind of happened between the holidays, and I was surprised that they did it that way. So Kemper came out with a very, very compact version of their profiler. So the profiler player is called, and I know that Jonathan has you still own a Kemper, right?
Yep. Yeah. I have the toaster looking thing. Yeah, still have that.
Okay. So what's your take on this new format? Any things you I have a few things that I dislike, but maybe there are some things that you like, so let us hear those first.
Well, the way I'm looking at this product is that I think Kemper was trying to offer something that was similar to, let's say, the Tone X or the HX Stomp. Instead of having like a big dedicated unit, you have a smaller one. It looks like it works more with presets. So if you're going down that route where that is the main hub of your tone, and you have a pedal board with a few pedals, a few choice pedals, and that's like the heart of your rig, it makes sense, because if you've seen like the original unit, it's pretty bulky. Even the floor unit is quite large, and not everyone needs all the features that come with these type of units. So I think there's a demand for a smaller digital rig without like the big screen and deep diving and all this stuff. So I think this is what they were going for. I haven't tried it. I would love to give that a spin and just compare to the actual Kemper, but I think there's going to be a market for that. I don't think it's going to like knock off the Tone X or the HX Stomp off of any pedal boards anytime soon. But I think for the users who don't want to bring like a huge bulking unit, something like this makes a lot of sense, especially if you can create your own presets with the actual Kemper and put them on here and not have to worry about it. I think it's a smart move.
The thing that kind of took me by surprise was the price of it. It's not a cheap unit, is it? It's quite expensive, if I recall correctly. Can you remember what the price on it is?
Was it $699 or something?
Yeah, I think it's a little more than the HX Stomp.
Yeah, so which plays into what you were saying. I think as a companion pedal, if you already had the full fat Kemper, I think this is a fantastic piece of kit. But I think if I was looking to put a single pedal solution on my board, I'm probably already price conscious. So I think this is going to struggle to compete against the Tone X and the HX Stomp, especially as nearly every one of the demo artists I've worked with absolutely loves the Tone X. They all think the Tone X is, and I've not tried one yet, is the thing to beat. So I'd be really intrigued to see how this does. It's a good looking unit though. I wouldn't say no to having one on my board, and it definitely looks capable. I've just never gone down ever since the early days of Line 6, I've never gone down the modelling route. It's just, I don't buy gear to do that anymore. That's not my thing, but I do know a lot of people who do. So yeah, I think it's a really intriguing unit, but at the price point, they've sort of set their stall out, I think.
Yeah. That's also what struck me. So I don't think that is going to take away market share from the other competitors, especially like the Tone X. I think I saw an offer for the Tone X. Like some store in the US was like had like a limited stock that they wanted to get rid of, and they sold it for like $300, which is insane.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
it's an extremely accessible unit at that price point. But even for like 400 euros or $400, it's an amazing price point. So I don't think it's going to cut into the other company's game. I think that this is more focused towards people who already have a Kemper of some sorts, and they just want the most compact version for it, because nowadays everything has to be more compact and people want to travel as light as possible. So what bothers me is that in comparison, it doesn't have a screen. Why doesn't it have some sort of display? This bothers me.
Yeah, I think
Sorry, you go, Jonathan. No, your comment would be way more intelligent than mine. I was just like, screens suck. No one needs a screen.
From what I can tell, they decided to go with more of a tactile thing where you can just like switch to whatever you want. The problem sometimes with a screen is that, especially if you look at like the quad cortex, right? You have this huge screen that's dedicated to the unit where you can see the routing and all this. I don't think there's so much routing going on with this unit because they call it the player. So I kind of see it. I don't know if you remember like some of the older iPods, you had like the shuffle that was just like, there was no screen. There was just like a play button. You could skip to the songs. I'm kind of seeing this unit in this way where you have presets. You're just playing the presets. You're not doing any deep diving with the unit. You would do that with the dedicated software on your computer. So this is something you just bring, you punch in whatever sound you want, and that's it. You don't think about routing. You don't think about any of the fancy stuff that you would with something like the Tone X or the Quad Cortex or even the HX Stomp for that matter. So I think that's why they went down this route, because then if you start to add the screen, that means you're going to get the people to do more deep dive into this unit. And I think with the name Profile Player, I think they really wanted to go with the quick and easy. You punch in what you want, you just upload your presets, and that is it. You go to town with it. So I think that's why there's a lack. But obviously, I'm not in the know. I'm just like assuming at this point.
And also, you've got your phone, right? So your phone is acting as the thing that you're configuring it on. So I think that possibly takes away some of the need for the screen, assuming your phone has a screen and you're not running on a like Ericsson 33 or whatever. I think I'm not a huge fan of screens on pedals, full stop, because I'm getting to the age where I need glasses to look at things when they're close and not when they're far away, and everything becomes painful when I've got to read it. And with a pedal, I can just twiddle a few dials and I'm done. That's what I want. I want simplicity on my pedal board. I am not the typical use case, though. I'm old man rocker. That's not necessarily where these guys are marketing. So.
Okay, so that's the Kemper. Then this I've found also very interesting. So apparently Jack White is teasing a collaboration with the budget brand Donna. And I don't know if you guys have heard about Donna, but every time I hear about Donna is like these stupid ads that you get on social media, either on Instagram or on Facebook, where they say, hey, buy this and buy that. And it's like the same cheap mini pedal Chinese firecracker stuff that everybody does, that you can get from Harley Benton and you can get from Amazon and you can get from Guitar Center and whatnot. And then obviously some entry-level guitars. And now here comes the guy who is like so into like weird, rare, vintage, weird-sounding stuff. And he collaborates with a Chinese firecracker band. And I don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
Donna's an interesting brand, actually. I mean, the name is terrible for a brand. I wouldn't have picked it, but then that they're probably not native English speakers, as we say. So I always think of Richard Donner and Superman 2 when I see that, and I don't think that's where they were going. But anyhow, or Donna kebabs, but they're spelt differently. They've been around for a while, though. They've been around pretty much since like 2015-ish, I think, something like that. Certainly on the radar. And I don't know who manufactures their pedals. I think they might manufacture them themselves. Obviously, Moore make a lot of pedals, especially in a mini format, for a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
So when you see a lot of these kind of cheaper names, I don't know, people like Rowan, etc., I think they're just rebadged Moores. I'm not sure about the Donna pedals. I have a feeling they might actually make them themselves or be affiliated with another manufacturer, and certainly their guitars don't look bad. I'd be really intrigued to see why he's doing this. I suspect the reason is money. But if they can bring something really cheap, inexpensive, but high quality into the kind of signature area, then that's got to be pretty cool for the customer, I would have thought.
Yeah, I my only experience with Donna is one demo I did for them 2 years ago. It was the Dark Mouse, which was their take on one of the Rat variants. I think it's the Turbo Rat, and it's actually a really good pedal. Was really surprised, like really low noise floor on it. Sounded pretty authentic. Yeah, the name is not that great. Like, I'm a francophone, and if you look at Donner and you say it in French, it sounds like given, like donné.
Yeah,
and
right,
given
fine.
the price point, it kind of makes sense. So I don't know. The way I'm looking at this, like I'm just reacting in real time because I didn't know about this, but there's a few things that I'm thinking about when I see this. It's either Donner is trying to do something different, like to set themselves apart from the other companies from their country by associating themselves with someone who's kind of known as more of a quirky, like mad scientist kind of tone guy. So if they're going for an association with him, it's probably not going to be a Tube Screamer. It's probably going to be something different. Like I remember Moore, I believe it was Moore, did a pedal with Devin Townsend.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like this really, really complex delay and reverb pedal. And it took him quite a while for them to bring out the pedal. But by the time they did, Devin Townsend put his stamp of approval on it. And it seems to have like propelled the company to like thrive to make better products since then. And maybe this is what's going on here. Maybe he said, yeah, I'm going to do something with you, but we have to do something different. I remember him doing a series, I think it was maybe like 1 or 2 pedals with another company where it was like really cool. You had like these big switches and you had like different octaves and stuff. And if he's doing something like this with Donner, it might be interesting. So kind of looking forward to see what he comes up with.
Yeah, I've just been to the Donna website. They actually only have 3 pedals on the website now, which is interesting. So I don't know whether they're about to come out with a new range, but they've got their multi-effects unit, a chorus, and a looper, which doesn't feel like a very full-featured range of pedals. So I'm guessing they're about to relaunch something, and they're clearing out the old stock. But according to their website, they've been going since 2012. I tried to read the founder's statement, but it was so badly written that it's actually made my brain give up, pack its bags, and walk out of my head for a few minutes. So do not read that. If you see it, avoid it. It's really bad. But yeah, look,
okay.
So no huge secrets here, but we've obviously, for our budget pedals, so part of my job is I work very closely with Wampler pedals, and work on many different aspects of the pedals. And part of what we did with our budget range was look to one of our partners in the Far East to build essentially more than we normally we would get circuit boards sent over from different places, and we'd do all the kind of assembly ourselves. Here we basically got them to build the whole pedal for us because it was the only way of keeping the price down, I think, other than probably us screwing on the knobs and the foot switches. Whereas normally there's a lot more involved in our manufacturing, and the quality was fantastic. So there is no quality issue with products manufactured in the Far East. I have no doubt about it. They are incredibly advanced. There are some branding issues. They don't quite get the branding right if they're left to their own devices. But I think that's why you've seen so many different brands over in Europe and the US, is because they've got great products but sucky branding, so other people OEM them and try to improve them, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they actually end up worse. But there's a lot of brands out there that do this, that take something made by Donna or Moore and rebadge it and repaint it and stick it out there. So I'll be really intrigued to see. Jack White's still a big influence to a lot of younger guitarists. I can't say I'm a huge fan myself. Like, I know a few songs, that's about it. But yeah, more power to them. I'd like to see more competition in the market from cheaper, more value focused, I think is a better way of putting it, brands.
Right. And then I found this article pretty interesting where the guy who wrote it essentially says, do you really need an artist's permission to make a signature pedal? It seems like more and more pedals are coming out that are signature in nature. And he was referring to the MXR Joshua, which is obviously like a hat tip to Joshua's Tree, the U2 album, and then obviously to the sounds connected with the edge, or like the delay, the huge delay sounds and arrays connected with the edge. And I found this to be interesting in the sense that they just take a name that like sounds somewhat like something that you associate with an artist or with a record or something, and then that like essentially becomes a signature pedal without being a signature pedal, because obviously the Edge didn't approve the sound of the pedal or the design or whatever, but it's obviously very it's very obvious what the pedal is about, and it's marketed that way. So do you guys think we're going to see more of that stuff?
I mean, it's a great way of avoiding paying 15% of your pedals proceeds to an artist.
Yeah.
So I think we are going to see more of it, because it's a great idea for the pedal companies. And I immediately looked at it and went, oh, they've made Josh Heath Scott a signature pedal. So if you're in the pedal world, you might not have made the right assumption straight away. But it is an interesting one. I mean, I guess, once an artwork has been created, creating something to sound like that artwork is perfectly legal. There's no legality in creating a pedal that, tags onto this. It's what we do all the time, really. If someone releases a Hendrixy sounding pedal, if they use the Hendrix name, of course, the House of Hendrix or whatever the legal entity is called is going to sting them. But we've seen plenty of other pedals that sort of hint at what they can do, octafuzzes or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a smart move. It's a bit weird having a named pedal like this, I think, but I kind of like it for the fact it's a bit weird. So yeah, I think it's a smart move by MXR.
And if the Joshua wasn't that obvious, look at this one that Nux or Nux made a few years ago. Actually, that's actually called Edge Delay, and it has kind of his face or face contour.
Okay, that would annoy me. Actually, you can swear on this show because you've sworn several times. That would piss me right off. To be fair.
You can. It's
if I was
we
the
have
Edge.
Yeah, definitely. It's we have only a few rules. We always speak freely, and if swearing is in there, we're not making children's entertainment here. I have to do that here 24/7 for a 3-year-old. I'm not going to do it in other parts of my life.
24/7 for the next 10 years at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. I'm going to kind of voice an opinion here on how I see this. If they were making a pedal and putting an artist name without the consent of the artist, I think that would be a big issue. Like if you say, oh, that's the John Petrucci whatever modulation effect, and he's like, I didn't sign off on this, don't use my name. Yeah, I can see the legal repercussions of that. But if you're like, I'm trying to encapsulate the sound of an artist, and I'm going to do like kind of like a tribute or homage, if you will, to that person with this. Well, one, the artist did not create their own pedals. So someone like the Edge using a Vox AC30, using the Memory Man, he didn't invent any of those things. He's just using them in a certain way. So if you can encapsulate that, put it in a pedal, and kind of allude to what it is, I don't have an issue with that. I think that's actually brilliant because it's not really a signature pedal. It's more like we're trying to do like what's the word? Like a tribute, basically, to that type of sound. But it doesn't mean that you actually sound like this person. It's more like you have the elements there to use it creatively. I got a bunch of signature gear behind me, and I don't sound like any other people whose gear is on that name. I tried, and I can't do it. No.
Takes years of practice.
I think what it is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's all right. Just a bit of lag. Don't worry. You're good.
I think what it is so companies that put out modeling preamps or modeling amps, they do it for 2 decades already. They want to associate, they want to make it easy for people to find the sound, so they give them things like Recto or Rec something or Rec 2000, or they call it Plex something, and people know, okay, this is a Plexi, this is a blackface Fender, this is supposed to sound like a rectifier or Soldano, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's just that transported into the real hardware world. So maybe these companies saw that, these modeling companies are doing it already, and they're doing it without any legal issues. So let's just name this thing Joshua, to make a resemblance to Joshua's tree. I think it's that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they'd have had more legal trouble if they'd have named it, after another delay pedal. Essentially, pedal companies tend to be a little bit more astute and sharp when it comes to protecting their own, legal brand. If they'd have called it the MXR Memory Man, they might have had some problems. But MXR Joshua, not a problem at all. I do think that Nux Edge pedal, no pun intended, is on the very edge of being really distasteful to the artist. I think if I was the Edge, I would be suing them over that. But I guess he has enough money not to care, or doesn't hurt him, or whatever. But that was sharp. I mean, calling it Edge, fine. Putting a little line drawing of a beanie hat and a beard on it, that is outrageous, to be fair.
That's kind of on the nose.
Yeah, I salute the marketing man that got away with that one, because I don't think we would get away with it in our business.
Now, considering how Disney do not have like the ownership of Mickey Mouse anymore, how many rat pedals do you think are going to have Mickey Mouse ears on them?
So that's actually a really good point, but there's some real caveats around what's happened with Mickey Mouse. So you are allowed to use the image of Mickey Mouse as in Steamboat Willie. You are not allowed to refer to him as Mickey Mouse. You can use literally just that image. So I think Disney, they're not known for being lackadaisical when it comes to defending legal properties. I think people need to be very careful with use of that image and any words around it. That said, Rob Zombie's got a horror film coming out called Steamboat, I think, with him as the main character. So that's probably the best thing to come out of it so far.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you guys heard that, but Disney, or Lucasfilm, which is now obviously part of Disney, they just sued a Chilean car wash company, which is having their employees, they're essentially in costumes like Stormtrooper and Chewbacca and all these things, and they're washing cars in these costumes and making it entertaining for people when they wash their cars. And the whole thing is called Star Wash. And Disney is actually suing the shit out of Star Wash because it might, damage the reputation of the brand, which is like absolute nonsense to me. And the owner in Chile, he said like it's so stupid, and they are obviously their plan is to like run me dry legal fees, and at some point I just have to give up. It's like, why would you be such a stupid bully? It's so unnecessary.
It is unnecessary. It's their prerogative to defend their IP. I wonder if the Wookiees were kind of used to wash the cars. I wonder if like Wookiees came along and
that's interesting.
Yeah. That would have worked, and then maybe some like Ewoks like buffing the top. That I like, and then you could have gone extra themed. You could have had like all the stormtroopers like pointing at your car with the jet wash and just missing completely. That would have been totally on brand. If they'd have done that, Lucasfilm would have probably been okay. But I'm guessing they didn't do that, and Lucasfilm weren't okay.
Yeah,
I just want to see that.
Yeah, I just want to pass by this car wash because the thing is I have family in Chile, so maybe that's why I ran across the story, and I just want to drive through that, open the window, look at one of these stormtroopers, and say, "These are not the droids you're looking for."
There's just
you have to
so
do the
much
hand
fun.
Yeah,
yeah. And this, we'll probably cover this pedal a little bit more, but Wampler got in trouble with Disney over the Tumnus because Tumnus is a character from Narnia, which is written by C.S. Lewis, which is now owned by Disney, and they basically came at us and said, you can either keep the name or you can keep the graphic, but you can't keep both. So we ditched the graphic, kept the name, and that's why we had to get rid of the little centaur guy, not centaur, pan satyr type guy off the Tumnus graphic, and change it to something that was not immediately associated with Narnia, although there is an element of time travel to it. So we were as close as we could get, but yeah. So Disney are very hot on that. They will come down on you very quickly, and you don't want to go messing with the largest entertainment company's lawyers. That's a very expensive hobby.
No.
And
so you mentioning this, yeah.
No, go ahead.
So I'm just. So you mentioning this, Richard, kind of leads us or gives me the segue into introducing you to our audience. So you're Mr. Richard Oliver, and you are the owner and managing director of Amplify Creative, and
Sounds
you also
really
work
fancy.
with Wampler, which is why I have all these pedals behind me. And you've also worked with a lot of other companies. You don't just do like pedal and music stuff. You work with a bunch of different companies. Is that correct?
Yeah, largely speaking, I look after the website. So Amplify Creative is a small consultancy. Me, my business partner, and a couple of other guys involved. And always from the beginning, when we named the company, it was called Amplify for two reasons. One, I am a loud guy. So, actually it was named it for three reasons. I am a loud guy. I want to help you get your message, heard, which is what the whole point of it is. But also I love music gear, and I always had in my head I would like to get into the music space. And I guess by force, by luck, by meeting the right people, I kind of found myself talking to Brian Wampler one day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we'd love you to do this," and that turned into this was sort of 5 years ago, turned into me essentially running most of their back office functions when it comes to pedal releases and things like that. So I designed the graphics for the pedals, I designed the manuals, did the website, all the copy, all of that stuff for the last 5 years has basically been me and Brian. Brian will tell me what he wants, and I'll go away, and eventually we'll get there. But Wampler themselves are part of a sort of a group of companies called Booty Camps Distribution, which is generally pretty well known. Booty Camps Distribution own Soldano, Synergy, Tone King, Morgan, Friedman, and a couple of other brands. So naturally, once we'd done one website, the boss of Boutique said, well, you may as well start, doing the next and the next. So we ended up doing all of those websites. So the most recent one was the Friedman website, which we launched last year. And then I guess we built up a little bit of a reputation. So we do a bit of work with Engel. I do a bit of work with Warren Hewitt's company, which is Produce Like a Pro, which covers Pro Mix Academy, Kohler Audio Cult, which is fairly big out there in Germany. It's a sort of German metal production, international metal production school, and a couple of other brands here and there. But mainly I focus on work for Boutique. They're a fantastic client. The owner, Arvi, is basically an industry legend and a complete genius when it comes to product design. So I stay very close to them, and if I go and work for another manufacturer, it will always be with their blessing, because I wouldn't want to sour that relationship. But yeah, so I was looking at it the other day. 50% of all of the Wampler pedals for sale at the moment were designed by me. Most of them have had the manuals and website and everything done by me. So I'm pretty well embedded in the world of Wampler, I think you could say. Oh, and I do all their social media and their podcast.
Oh.
Can I have a pay rise, please, Brian?
And you also deal with like pesky guys like me who write in, hey, can you send me a pedal so I can do a demo? You also take care of that part, right?
Yeah, so me and a colleague of mine, again from Germany, called Stefan Killerman, he helps with the demo artists. He tends to look after the European side. I look after the English and international side with him. But yes, we do deal with demo artists. Jonathan, you have not been difficult. We do have some difficult demo artists. Some who either like that. Some will have the attitude of like, I'll do it my way, or I'll huff off and I won't like it. But generally, you get quite a few that need a lot of hand holding and sort of telling that their ideas are right and that stuff. We prefer it when we can just hand it off to an artist like yourself and just be like, make a demo. We don't care what you say. We know it will be good. And that's how it works. But it's a lot of work dealing with demo artists. There's a lot of admin. There's a lot of chasing. There's a lot of sending, all of that good stuff. So yeah, that is another thing I do. Yeah,
that's actually interesting that you say that a lot of these guys need hand holding. You don't have to name names, but I know, because I know Stefan for a very long time. So Stefan Killerman is a close friend of mine, as well as Dennis at Boutique Amp Distribution. He is a good buddy of mine for many, many, many years. We have a lot of history in this industry.
Both awesome chaps.
And yeah, definitely. And but I know that whenever I see a product launch that's related with Boutique Amp Distributions, and I look at the channels, there are a lot of not only big channels, but also these guys look like they're really creative. So I'm kind of surprised that you say you have a lot of artists that need extra hand holding and like affirmation on their ideas.
It's bizarre, because some of them are some of the best guitarists I know, and I guess they have that slight creative doubt, and I'm there to go, no, this is absolutely brilliant. But it is a lot of work, and Stefan definitely suffers the thick end of the problems. But we've been really lucky. Most of our demo artists are absolutely fantastic, and also we do like to support the smaller guys. So Jonathan, you are probably, I'm sure you won't mind saying this, one of the examples of that. You're relatively new to the scene. I sort of remember, I think the first time we sent you a pedal was probably only about 3 years ago, but COVID happened, so I might be wrong.
Yeah.
And we always look, with every release, we'll have the Pete Thorns and the Hennings up there, at the sort of top end of the scale of people who'll get good views and that. We'll always try and throw out some to some of the smaller guys. One, because we recognize how hard it is to make a start in this industry, and we want to support you. And two, because sometimes you just simply get the best demos out of those guys. They actually care more, because they are not, you've got someone like Mike Hermans, who is, who was on that image that we just looked at for the Nux pedal, he is one of the best demo artists in the business, bar none. You send him a pedal, within a month, you'll get an amazing video with just the most tasteful music. But the guy has got some capacity to deliver as well, because he is on nearly every big pedal release for every company, and they all sound fantastic. Yeah. But you don't get many people like that, and it's very difficult to find. So you've got to keep it fresh. So you've got to keep sending it out to as many different people as you can, whilst keeping a core of the kind of really, really top-end guys there. Obviously, budget also plays a part.
Yeah, 100%. I have another question. Maybe we could actually jump over to the controversial pedal, because if I remember correctly, now we go.
This one.
Yeah, this one. If I remember correctly, then within a very, very short time frame, you sold like 2,000 of those?
Yeah, I mean, not far off numbers wise. Essentially, we normally on a pedal release day, we will release at about 2 p.m. GMT, which is kind of 9 a.m. EST for Americans. And normally, it won't be until America has fully woken up that we see any strong sales come through. Normally, when we release a pedal, we'll see the people who've been waiting, who are on the Wampler tone group, or who follow the page or the Instagram, they'll be up early, they'll put it in their basket, they'll buy it, and then later in the day, sales will pick up. So what happened on this day, so one, we knew it was going to be a popular pedal, because the dealers had already said to us, can we get any more? Some dealers hadn't ordered enough, because I think some of them didn't feel it was going to be a popular pedal. And what I say to that is, more fool you, because you could have made some more money and made some more people happy, but they chose not to. So a lot of it was in the dealer's hands. So anyway, it got to 1:45, and Andertons had already dropped their video, and I saw a sudden spike in traffic to our website, and I was like, what do I do here? And so I thought, right, well, I'm just going to release it 15 minutes early. It's not going to make a single bit of difference. Now, both Brian and I have very similar sleep patterns. We tend to work till late at night and get up late. I think you guys may have experienced the effects of that this morning. And as a result of that, Brian didn't get up till probably about 10 o'clock that day. And by the time Brian got up, we had sold out of all our online stock. We don't put a lot online, it's probably 10% of the whole amount of stock that we had. And we'd sold out already, and we were selling like one a minute. So we put it on back order so that, we knew we could fulfill the stock, and it continued to sell at ridiculous numbers. And we were totally blindsided by it. So we only got a batch of 10,000 odd diodes. You need 2 per pedal, and we already knew that we were going to split the batch. So there was going to be Tumnus Deluxes and Tumnuses, and we were going to split the batch 50-50 always. So really, the maximum number of these pedals that we ever had was 2,500, because it's half the allocation and double the diodes. And those 2,500 just flew off the shelves. In fact, we took pre-orders, which we then discovered we weren't going to be able to fulfill for the mini Tumnus, beyond our sales, like ridiculous levels beyond. So we then immediately found ourselves in a position that we didn't think we'd be in, which was a lot of people were angry at us. And they were angry because essentially our skills in clairvoyance had failed us, and we hadn't perfectly anticipated the demand. I mean, you just can't anticipate the demand for these things, all right? We did a limited run on the Black 65 and the Tweed 57. For years, people have been saying to us, please bring back the Black 65 and the Tweed 57. We bought them out in very limited quantities, and we still have probably a couple of dozen hanging around. That did not sell out straight away. So that's an example of where we had over-anticipated demand slightly. And, when you do that, you think, okay, maybe the market isn't as strong for this type of pedal, and we thought the same slightly with the Tumnus. Look, we knew it would sell well. The Tumnus is our best-selling pedal pretty much, give or take on a given year. So we knew it would do well, but we didn't think it would do this well. What we also didn't factor in was that a month beforehand, Josh Scott from JHS Pedals released the Notaklon. I'm not going to even try and pronounce it with the umlaut as it would be in like Swedish, I guess. But
don't get it.
I think it'd be like the Notaklon or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember where those dots are. But anyhow, we didn't anticipate that. What that did is it primed the market. It made people think, oh, clons. I like clons. We actually thought the opposite. We were like, oh, brilliant. We're about to launch, the Tumnus, the Germanium Tumnus, and Josh has beaten us by a month with this not a clon kit. Therefore, we're probably not going to sell that many of them. But as a result, I was completely wrong, and we sold out completely. Hold on, I think I might need to just go to my door. I'm just checking my camera. 2 secs. Just see. I heard some noises out there. Yeah, I've got to just go to my door very quickly. 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
You might want to.
No worries.
You might want to cut it here.
No worries.
Nope, it's going live like this, man.
It's going live like that.
Yeah. How would you say those? I only know the word in French, but the 2 dots over the O. Like, how would you pronounce that?
Yeah, the problem is the umlauts. The dots. They exist in German, and then it turns an O into an Ö.
Okay.
So it would be not a glön.
See, we have it in French, but it doesn't really do much. We put it over the O as well, but it doesn't do anything. It still remains with an O pronunciation. So, like, I was looking at it, it's like, no taclon. It's like, I wasn't too sure how to pronounce it. It was like, if I pronounce it the French way, it's still going to sound the same way. So, I was like, okay, but I know they did it just to make it look more Swedish,
Because of the IKEA concept,
IKEA
obviously.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because of the concept, exactly. And then they also put in the manual, they put the same like kind of IKEA like cartoon characters in there, how to build it, blah blah blah, and it's like from a
which I thought was very cute.
I have to say 100%. I really liked that, and I mean the whole marketing around it to me was just brilliant. It was really brilliant. Having kids put these things together and whatnot, to show how easy it is. And all kudos to them.
Yeah, no, as a marketing exercise, it demonstrated that Josh was at the absolute top of the pedal marketing game. No doubt about it. We all sat back and clapped and went, yeah, that's really well executed. In terms of the product itself, I'm personally not that excited. Having recently got into DIY myself, I'm like, this is like taking a pedal apart and then putting it back together again. You're not actually doing any of the interesting stuff. In fact, you're doing all the dull stuff. I hate taking pedals apart. I get sent circuit boards all the time, and I've got to put them in an enclosure and put knobs on them to test them, and it's really tedious. So... and again, we had KDH on our show, who's known for his controversial videos, I guess, and he pointed out in one of his videos, Josh is literally getting everybody to do the final assembly that his staff would do, and charging you the same money as if you were buying the pedal. So it's a doubly genius move. It's made everybody excited to be a pedal builder, whilst cutting his costs down. And putting out a good product. I mean, look, a clon is a clon is a clon. The circuit is well known. It's going to sound great. So a bit of me was a little bit bitter when it came out because I didn't think up the idea. So if anyone has a great idea that I don't think of, I'm like, damn you. But then, my brain kicks in and was like, what I think this could do is really kickstart a boom in DIY pedals and smaller pedal companies coming out as a result. And that would be a fantastic end result for this. If more people were interested in making pedals, we might see some more innovation, which is what we all really, as players, want. So, yeah, brilliant bit of marketing. So,
yeah, the problem with I am all for innovation. I love when people come out with something that really puts a different spin on things, but a really different spin. I'm not talking about the 10th iteration of the modified, Tube Screamer clone or Bluesbreaker or whatever. All that kind of stuff is like so uninteresting to me. So I'm all for innovation, but to be honest, I don't think at this point that we need more pedal companies. Last time I checked, we have 2,500 registered. That's only the registered pedal companies in the world.
We lost Frank there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just looking up at my router,
like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
And it was a cliffhanger because you went, "We don't need any more," and that was it. It was like, what?
Yeah,
what don't we need more of?
Okay. I'm just going to repeat what I wanted to say. So I don't think that we need any more pedal companies at this point, because last time I checked, we have 2,500 registered pedal companies. And that's only the registered ones. That's not the guys who make pedals like in the meantime and then sell them off Reverb or any other local marketplace in the world. And I know that, for example, in Brazil, which like economically is so shut down from the rest of the world, there are a shit ton of people who serve the Brazilian market, and sometimes a pedal makes it out of Brazil and goes, out in the world. There are so many pedal companies out there, and I already see the first of them dying, because they all kind of started around the pandemic, because they were like, okay, I'm at home, my day job is not satisfying, or maybe I lost my day job, or maybe I can't do music, so I can do pedals as well, and a lot of these companies started around that time, and we already see a lot of them dying, because obviously the third year is like the difficult ones, the difficult year, especially in a couple of EU countries where, exactly. So I don't think we need more pedal companies, and I really hope that, because while the Not-A-Clon kit is a funny idea, it has nothing to do with the reality of building pedals in a production environment. Not at all. It's not even close.
Very true. I mean, I was chatting to Leanderton about this shortly before Christmas. There is going to be a period of consolidation in this industry. There's no way that 2,500 brands can survive. So, some of the larger brands will look to buy up some of the smaller brands. That will happen. But a lot of them will just die out. And it's interesting you talk about South America as well, because that is an area where piracy is basically allowed. So we have got companies out making clones of like the Triple Rec or other pedals we haven't made. We can't do anything about it because they're in South America. The minute we send them a legal letter, their address changes, and it just becomes a complete. And I think copyright laws are very different out there, so we just don't bother. It's like, okay, whatever. But I think globally, the business is overweight at the moment. Not just me, I'm overweight, but I think the whole business is very overweight. I think there are too many manufacturers out there, but I still want to see more, because I still think there's room for innovation. But I think you're right. I think innovation doesn't necessarily have to come at the price of I'm creating my own pedal brand. If I could come up with a good pedal, I'd go and talk to one of the big guys straight away. That would be my thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And
one little
my question is now. Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
Just one little addendum to that. The reason I think it's going to be difficult is because right now, economically speaking, we're also in a very weird time where there are kind of three factors how you can sell successfully. You sell something that some influential artist has on his board, and then everybody wants to have it because they want to jerk off in front of all their friends by like, hey, I have the you know. B,
Got the Klon, the original one.
yeah, exactly. B, you somehow sell something that nobody else can make for some reason because only you know how to make it, or only you have the parts to make it. Or 3, you sell something so cheap that it's a no-brainer for people. That's kind of the 3 factors. And then if 2,500 companies battle in that realm, I think it's kind of difficult, and it's pretty obvious that a lot of them are not going to survive this.
Yeah, my question now, going with what you're saying, Frank, and what we're talking about with, let's say, the new Tumnus and the Nauticlon and all this, is that we have all these companies now that, you know, they're smaller, they're coming out, they're trying to, you know, put their own spin on classic designs. I've never designed pedals. I don't know much about what goes into it, but I've been told, you know, many times that there's only so many circuits that are possible with pedals. So that means anyone coming up, if they haven't studied engineering, they're just like learning from building kits, that means they have to start with some of those blocks, some of those, you know, original designs, and then build up from there. So they're going to start with the Rat, they're going to start with the Big Muff or the Fuzz Face or whatever, and then they're going to try to do their own thing. And if we look at it just from the marketing aspect of it, sometimes the appeal is not even the product itself, it's how rare it is, it's how, like, the novelty behind it. Because if I bring it back to the germanium Tumnus, there's something a little strange in the philosophy that most consumers have now towards this one. Think about it. How many shootouts have been done with the original Klon and the first version of the Tumnus? Right?
Yeah, hundreds.
There's
right?
a shit ton of them. You go on YouTube, you can find them. Which one keeps coming back up as a fan favorite? It's the original Tumnus. So if you look at it, you go, okay, so I could pay whatever it's at now, like $8,000, $10,000, whatever, for the original Klon, or I could get myself the Tumnus. So everyone was just losing their shit going, wow, man, the price point is awesome. It's not even technically the same circuit, but it's in the same vicinity as the Klon, but it's like a really cool thing from Wampler. And then this comes out, and everyone's like, okay, so now it's the Tumnus, but it's going more towards the original Klon. Guys, make up your mind. Do you want the original Klon sound, or do you want the Tumnus? It gets confusing.
It does. It's kind of insane. And, you know, I can speak to this a little bit because I've had to go right into the depths of what the differences are to understand. So, look, number one, special editions don't always mean they are special or limited or whatever. We know that. That's a marketing, ploy that a lot of people use. In this case, this was a limited run that once we ran out of those diodes, have no doubt we don't have another stash. Analog Man apparently has a stash of them, but I don't think he wants to sell them to us. And, a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just go and buy these diodes off the internet for like $2 a piece? It's like, if we can't buy in a quantity of 10,000 or around that, just not worth us doing. And Brian did make sure that these all had a specific forward voltage spec that was, accurate to a Klon he had looked at. The difference between silicon and germanium, I mean, we know that in a transistor, a germanium transistor is going to be very temperature dependent. If you're running it in the wrong environment, you'll get a different sound, essentially. It's not quite the same with silicone diodes versus germanium diodes. Really, they're not temperature dependent at all. I mean, I say that there might be something at the extreme ends that affects them. What is different is the knee, which is the transition between zero clipping and full clipping. So on the silicon diodes, the knee is just a little bit harsher. When you take it from zero to full clipping, the transition will step in a slightly more angular way than it will on the germanium diodes. But that's the transitional effect. The reality is you can probably dial in the same sounds on the germanium and the silicon diodes by just finding the right sweet spot on both. So there is a very real physical difference. Yes, they are the original ones that we believe were in a version of the clon, because let's face it, there were multiple versions of the clon that Bill Finnegan came out with. But this is our version of it. Would we tell our customers, hey, if you're looking for that clon experience, don't go and buy a Tumnus, go and buy a germanium Tumnus off Reverb for 5 times its price? Absolutely not. We would say, unless you have more money than sense, or really, really like the cool silver enclosure and different changes we made, basically you'll get the same sound if you try hard enough out of both versions. There are very subtle differences, don't get me wrong, and our manufacturing has changed a bit, so that the pedal is built ever so slightly differently. But generally speaking, the difference is, it is like the difference between an 18-year-old single malt, and I don't know why I'm making single malt my reference point here, and a 16-year-old single malt. They're both going to get you drunk. They're both going to sound fantastic, taste fantastic. They'll sound fantastic too by the time you've drunk a whole bottle. But the reality is they're so close together that, most people wouldn't know the difference. What I would say is I do prefer the look of the germanium Tumnus. I wasn't very happy initially with the finish that came out on the gold Tumnus because we were limited in using the original paint color, which I wasn't particularly keen on. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm very touchy about this. With the silver Tumnus, I picked a slight sparkle paint scheme that in certain lights just really pops, and I love how that came out. So that's worth the extra $500. It doesn't show on camera really well, but when you see it in life, you can see kind of like little bits of sparkle in it. So it's a good looking pedal, and the Tumnus Deluxe, the Germanium Deluxe will be out. It will have the same sort of finish, so that's also going to look awesome. But yeah, it's crazy.
That's also going to be one of those crazy pedals when it comes out too, because already, I think on the first day when this pedal came out, I was on the Wampler Facebook group, and people are like, please, Brian, make the deluxe version. And I think it was you that answered, yeah, that's already in the works, guys. Like we thought about it, it's coming. And I mean, people were just losing their minds on this one.
Oh, it's been insane. We could not. Yeah. We've had like literally hate mail. We've had people write to us, and like and you guys, I guess you guys will have this sort of thing because Brian's American, but I'm European. Okay, I'm English, but I'd consider myself European. And I looked at it like, well, this is the free market. This is what you guys talk about all the time. This is free market economy in action. We're living the American dream. Whereas Americans had a different view. Their view was, how dare you sell it before I woke up? I am entitled to this pedal because I've bought your pedals in the past. And we literally got, people saying, like we had one guy saying, like, I've reviewed loads of your pedals. I woke up, it was already sold out. I'm never reviewing one of your pedals again. And we went back and looked at his channel, and the last time he reviewed a pedal for us was like 2008. So we were like, we're really sorry, but, and like, you don't need to give us that. Yeah, and we've had like
I think that might speak volumes to how people want to consume things. Like they all want a fair chance at getting the limited run pedal, which makes kind of no sense because it's a limited. So if it comes out and you're not aware of it, it's not like everyone's going to scream it from the rooftop going, there's a very limited run rare pedal that's coming out on this day. So good luck, folks. It's kind of like Hunger Games. Let him go for the pedal.
And we've done limited runs of the Tumnus and the Tumnus Deluxe before, and they were all sold in like batches of 100 or 200, super limited. And once they sold out, we didn't get anybody crying about it. So what made me think about this one was, one, when I saw the sales come through, I saw names that I'd never seen buy, because I kind of look at who buys online from us, and I was like, this is strange. So I do believe a percentage, and I'm not sure how big or small that percentage is, of people who bought the first run of this pedal bought it just to flip it on eBay, and I hate that. I think that absolutely sucks.
Yeah, it definitely does suck. Nobody wants that. And it so my main job is that I work at Reverb, and I remember that we did we had some special edition pedals that we did a couple of years ago, where we had Chase Bliss and
the blackout editions,
Yeah, those are ones, but then we also had like some special editions where we had collaborations between different companies, like I think Chase Bliss and some other company made a pedal, and all of those pedals were also like heavily limited, and same thing. People bought them, and then they were sold out within like 24 hours, and then 24 hours later you see the first of them. They weren't even shipped out. And you saw the first of them being on Reverb again for double the price. Where it's like, are you guys kidding me?
Yeah.
What?
And I think we do have to
time,
thank Josh for this from JHS. I think he created this bubble.
Yeah.
Single-handedly.
Yeah, in a way,
effect.
he definitely did. There's one thing that you said. Yeah, there's one thing that you said before about this what went down in the US with this pedal, and there's this word that came up that I totally hate, because it's like it stands for everything that's wrong these days, which is the word entitled. I just hate this word, like especially when somebody comes around and says it's like, I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that. No, sir. You're entitled to get up in the morning, go to work, eat 3 good meals, take 1 good shit, and go back to bed. That's what you're entitled to. Everything else is just a luxury.
Spoken like a true German. Only a true German would add in the take a good shit bit.
That's actually
that's a good shit though.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
That was actually a George Carlin
quote. The entitlement
quote.
is horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's an Americanism, but it works very well coming from a German speaker. Let me say, it's crazy.
It sounds even better coming from a German.
Yeah, definitely. Look, you are all entitled to buy every metaverse that we created. Yet that didn't sell out. You were all entitled to buy every. I don't know. Pick any of our every Moxie. I mean, these are pedals that have all sold well. But we've never sold out, and we've never faced this sort of issue. So, after this, I said to Brian, I said, well, that determines, our next release. Let's make a tube screamer. Because it seems if we try and innovate, then, the market will test it here and there. If we just make the same pedal over and over again, we'll sell out instantly. So, you heard it here first. Yeah. Only tube screamers and metal zones from now on.
Yes, it's exactly so. At the end of last year, I was kind of frustrated because, I just mentioned my main job is Reverb, but I have I'm building pedals as a side hustle, and I also try to innovate instead of copy shit and make clones of things. So at the end of last year, I put out like a meme, like the classic Craig David, like one that's like. No, and the lower image is like yes, whereas like on the upper side, I said like small pedal companies trying to innovate things and create something new instead of just copying things. No, leave me alone. Big companies coming out with the 10th iteration of a famous circuit. Yes, go for it.
But it's funny you said one. I mean, we probably Wampler probably do count as a big company, but we certainly act, like probably you do. We're constantly trying to innovate. There's no doubt that we do not just try and bring out, the 10th iteration of a tube screamer, etc. But it speaks volumes to the market because, going back into the kind of story behind all of the pedals we do, and what we were talking about earlier about there only being so many circuits. I mean, in analog circuits, in gain circuits, there are only so many different ways of clipping a circuit, but that only so many introduces an infinite number of variations. So you can create basically an infinite number of gain circuits. Trim the bias slightly differently here, add a different transistor stage there, and that's what Brian's really, really good at doing. That's why things like the Pinnacle, the Euphoria, even the more modern ones like the Ratsbane and the Moxie, they'll never just be the circuit it was based on. He'll find something he particularly likes in it, and he'll tweak it. So with analog gain circuits, there is an infinite number of different circuits you can come out. With DSP pedals, I guess that's also an infinite number, but the practical uses are very limited. There are only so many different ways you can skin a delay or modulation or whatever. So I think, it's an interesting point that everything has already been done and is just being done again. We're still trying to make new ones. In fact, Brian has got some new circuits coming out, but they're always going to be based on the old ones. But I think we also have to accept our market doesn't want as much innovation as we want to give them. And I feel sorry for someone like in your position, where you are trying to create new pedals, Frank, and not maybe getting the traction you deserve. But again, it's not your fault. It's the market that's wrong, not the producers.
Yeah, I know. No, I know.
But it's not. The market is the market. It is right,
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I find really weird as someone who does demos is that I look at what is popular versus what goes under the radar, and it's really fascinating. So, for example, Source Audio comes out with a series of overdrive pedals, but they're digital. I think they're like 10 years old at this point. Like, they've been around for a while. You have the LA Lady, you have the Aftershock, which is for bass, and the Kingmaker, which is a fuzz. Essentially, all three pedals are just like, if you will, a container where you can put the sounds from all three of those units into it. So if you want, I don't know, a Klon, a Tube Screamer, you want the Rat, you want the OCD, they've modeled all the big pedals that people love. And it went like under the radar. People were just like, didn't pay attention to it because it was a digital overdrive. And then Strymon comes out with essentially the same concept. I think that one of them is called the Sunset.
Yeah.
And there's another one, yellow one, I forget which one it is. And it's the same thing. And people were just losing their minds and holy shit, man, this thing sounds good. It's digital, but it doesn't sound digital. The Source Audio stuff doesn't sound digital, if you will. It sounds and reacts like a normal analog pedal. But people just kind of glaze over it. They're like, they don't really understand what it's about. So there's this weird thing that I'm seeing where marketing and timing seem to be like the big issue. So companies come out with products and the timing is just wrong. It's innovative. All the ideas are there. It's a fresh new take on something, but the market is not ready for it at that time. And then you fast forward into the future and all of a sudden now that pedal is so rare because the company didn't make a whole lot of them. Now the price is sky high and everybody wants it. And other times the product is still poo-pooed and people don't want it. So it's got to be a really tough juggling act for companies to figure out the market, figure out the trends, and figure out the marketing to access those potential customers. And I'm just a demo guy and I'm looking at this and I'm going, I wouldn't know where to start with this. It understanding
it's a complete crapshoot. Like it is a complete lottery. And like a really, really good example of this, and I bring it up all the time, is because I'm very personally attached to the pedal. When we released the Wampler Metaverse multi-delay, we poured our heart and soul into those algorithms. We tried to make it every delay pedal we'd ever loved. In fact, we probably went a little bit too far with that. But in the run-up to releasing it, a number of things happened. And, you know, it being a digital pedal based on that big Terraform enclosure, there was like 2 years of work that went into it before it got released. So in that 2 years, firstly, Facebook announced that it was changing its name as a group to the Meta Corporation. And we were but we've got a pedal called the Metaverse. And they're now calling everything the Metaverse. And so we had to have that conversation of, well, what do we do? Do we rename it? Because Metaverse is actually perfect for a multi-delay, because it is a universe of universes. Absolutely perfect. So we had that debate, and rightly or wrongly, we said, well, it's a sci-fi word that's been in use for years and years before Metaverse and Facebook. So we'll dig our heels in. The number 2 thing that happened was literally in the 2 months before we released it, every other company released a multi-delay. You had the new Line 6, you had a new Boss unit. They all came out in the 2 months before the Metaverse. And so by the time the Metaverse came out, everyone was like, oh, are you naming this after Mark Zuckerberg? And we're like, no, we are not naming it after Mark. And then like, oh, it doesn't do this, which the Line 6 unit did. We're like, we didn't have the Line 6 unit. It wasn't out beforehand. So timing on that was unfortunate. You know, there's nothing we could have done to change any of those. Well, we could have renamed it. You know, we could have called it the Macroverse or whatever. But again, and you will get this, Frank, 100%. Naming pedals is the hardest job in the world, because there's 2,500 other pedal companies who've already taken your name. You Google any pedal, like literally my Google is full of the search name plus pedal, and you will find everything you ever thought of has already been done. There isn't a nice sounding star, galaxy, constellation, or planet, or any kind of astronomical thing that can be done in less than 3 syllables that hasn't already been used. They've all been used by everybody, and I know I've searched them. So it's a really difficult job, and it's timing. You know, it's like the old joke goes, what's the secret of great comedy? Timing. You know, it is really difficult. And you've probably seen it too, Frank. You know, you've got your, I was just checking out your website, so you've got your all you can boost pedal, which, you know, we both know a boost pedal isn't very complicated. You know, I'm looking at it, it's a 12 dB boost, so it's probably an op amp inside it, and I don't know what the other side is, but then JHS comes out with a Rangemaster boost, and they're selling for $700 online, and I'm like, it's the simplest circuit in the world. There's nothing special about Josh's version other than it's a limited edition. Go and buy the Brian May boost. It's basically the same thing. But no, that continues to sell in limited numbers, whereas Josh's boost sold out completely. And it's just timing. People wanted that at the same time. I bet you wish you could have done the same with your boost.
Yeah, so you're totally right about naming pedals. Naming pedals is a very, very tedious, shitty process, because you have an idea of a name, or you have like some sort of concept, and then you search, you make sure that nobody else has a similar name, and then with the all you can boost, I was like, when I was creating the pedal and testing out the prototypes, I was like, look at all of the things it can do, because it's a little bit more than just a boost pedal. It can also work as a transparent overdrive. It can work as a low-end tightener, and then with the EQ, you can really tailor things and everything. It's like, look at all the things you can do, and then all the things, all you can eat, all you can boost. There you go. And that's how I came up with it. And then I really had to make sure that it doesn't exist. But in most of the cases, when I had an idea for a pedal name, so my wife is an artist as well, and she has a kind of a good feeling of what might work and what might not work. And I have a great name for this pedal. What do you think? And she's like, don't do that. You know, this is going to piss people off. And
here's a good example.
Yeah,
my version here, Ecstasy. They had to change the name to Euphoria because I think it was Bogner, right?
The Bogner, which is kind of weird because boutique amps also distribute Bogner amps, and we're very close with the management there. But this was a little before, and they were like, no, change it from. We've had it a number of times. A lot of people ask why we changed the Ace 30 and things like that. It's like it's just a little bit too close for. I think what was it? The Orange Crush. We had to change it to the Catapult. We made some circuit changes as well, I believe. Yeah. But again, Orange were like, you've used our typeface and you've used the word orange. It's a little bit too close. So we've sailed close to the wind a few times. Did your wife approve the name Gold Member, or did you get that one past her without approval?
No, my original idea for that pedal was Golden Shower, but I would use the Spanish name.
So German.
So that was
just so German.
No. It's like
the
Golden Shower, but I would use the Spanish name, which would be like Ducha Dorada. And then I gave her that, and my wife was like, no, you can't do that. So if somebody finds out, if somebody goes into Google Translate and puts Ducha Dorada and knows it means golden shower, you're gonna piss people off, and you can't do that. And I'm like, literally. Okay, but and then eventually through a couple of funny brainstorming ideas, we landed that Gold Member. And there's this association with Austin Powers, with the Austin Powers movie as well.
Of course.
Yeah. That's how that went.
So it says on your website though that you've put the company on hiatus temporarily, and you're clearing out stock. So I'm guessing, sadly, that you just haven't been able to sell enough to make this worth your while. Is that how that goes, or have you got other things going on?
No. It's actually no. I have a couple of private reasons why I can't dedicate the time that I need to dedicate. So the plan is that I'm gonna keep like a minimum stock, but I'm not going to be able to because my initial plan for this year was to reach out to distributors. To like get like a wider spread, but that would mean that I would need to be able to produce more, which with the things that I'm facing right now for the next couple of months, I'm not going to be able to do.
Sure.
So I'm going to keep a stock that can cover.
And it's a hard business.
Oh yeah, it is 100%. 100%. It's definitely it's very difficult.
Who manufactures? I don't need to know who, but do you manufacture the circuit boards yourself, or do you outsource the circuit boards and populate them? Is that how this works?
So the circuit boards, obviously, I have them manufactured in Asia because if I would do that in Europe, the pedals would be way too expensive. And the stuff that's exactly. And so those components that I've A/B tested not to be affecting the sound, they are pre-placed. They're SMT placed, and those that definitely make a difference and where I need to make selection, I place them myself.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this exactly?
I started. I came. So the first pedal started the end of 2020, but I've started putting things together before the pandemic, like 2019, something like that. I mean, that's surprising because these look ridiculously professional. I mean, these look like any other manufacturer's pedals I've seen. They are properly built, properly kind of designed. So kudos for being able to do that in such a small amount of time. I did kind of fancy trying out one of the Arc of Tones, of course, but I'll have to wait now, I guess, for the hiatus to come to an end. I'll send you one. You can.
Well, you don't need to do that. Sure. I'll send you some money for one, but
okay.
I don't want to do you out of any money.
The Arc of Tone.
I thought that was a great name for a pedal. I was a little bit like, oh, I see, Jonathan, we send you pedals all the time and you've gone to another manufacturer and got your own signature pedal. But actually, here's a secret for you, Frank. We all hate making signature pedals because of two things. One, we make less money, and two, artists are pains in the backsides. I mean, a really good example of that, in the nicest possible way, is the Corey Wong compressor we released. Corey was so detail focused on getting that pedal exactly how he wanted. It took probably a year longer than we would have wanted. The end result is a fantastic quality pedal. Same thing with the Brent Mason Hotwired. We're trying to make a V3 of the Hotwired. That's not a great secret. The difficulty is Brent is very specific about what he wants it to sound like. And that takes a lot of work. So actually working on artist pedals is really difficult. I'm guessing Jonathan wasn't as difficult as some of our other artists.
Oh, I was very difficult. All the proceeds come to me, and I'm actually making a bit of money on top of all the sales from FFX pedals. Like, that was the deal. I said, dude, I'm a big time YouTuber, and I'm going to get you places. I'm going to give you exposure. Right, Frank? That's the deal, right?
Yeah, you told me you would get me like at least 20,000 exposures per month because I need at least 16 to pay my rent. So there you go.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how I pay you back. Exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure to the sun, to air. Yeah.
Richard.
Yeah,
so
no.
The funny thing is that it's called the Signature Overdrive because. But I see it more as a collaboration that I had with him because and the story is very funny because he at some point he posted something on Facebook saying I would love to, like, one time in my life work with a pedal company and create a pedal, like my dream pedal. And I just asked him, what would that pedal look like? And then he explained me what it would be like, and I said, let's do it. It was a very spontaneous thing. And between that online interaction and the day we released the pedal, it took us 2.5 months, 3 months.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
that's really quick.
Yeah.
That's really quick.
But it also was kind of easy because he essentially wanted 2 Red Llama circuits in one enclosure, so he could stack them. And I said, okay, the Red Llama circuit is like very old because the original is the tube sound fuzz, and then George Trips kind of made it his own and tamed it a little bit, and then I just brainstormed some things we could add to make the pedal like more versatile and more interesting, and then we added the low pass filter, so you could like get rid of the brittle that starts to come with higher gain settings. And I thought it would be a fun idea to put the voltage control in there, so because at some point it becomes very fuzzy and you can get like these kind of starving sounds out of it. And then a friend of Jonathan made the design for the pedal at the same time, and so we were able to launch this thing at Guitar Summit last year in September. Very quick.
Yeah, no, I remember that. So I didn't make it to Guitar Summit, but was quite involved in seeing its build up because obviously I worked with Stefan, and it went insane last year, and I think this year will be even more insane. And so obviously because I follow Jonathan on Facebook, I saw this come out. I was like, this is very cool. I didn't realize the thing about the voltage starving. That's a really nice idea. And again, the other thing that makes this a good pedal for me, for a signature pedal, is it's not too heavy on the signature side, because the reality is, no disrespect, John, not everybody knows who you are, so why would I want your pedal? But I feel exactly the same with every other pedal. I would never buy a Brad Paisley Deluxe, even though I love Brad Paisley, because I don't try to sound like other artists. I try to sound like my interpretation. And I would have missed out because the Paisley Deluxe is one of our greatest pedals. But you've got to kind of make that leap of faith first. So sometimes I feel that having an artist's name associated with a piece of gear is both a curse and a blessing at the same time. You know, it gives you the marketing cachet straight away, but it does mean people are like, well, do I want that? Do I want to sound like that? A great example is this new Bruno Mars Stratocaster from Fender. Like, I kind of do like signature guitars, but would I ever buy a Bruno Mars signature guitar for any reason other than I like Bruno Mars? Possibly not.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that Frank and I talked about. Like when he said, "Yeah, let's do a pedal," I said, "Look, let's not put my name on the pedal. Let's not do like this overly like zealous, signature thing, because as you stated, I'm just a small YouTube channel. Even if I was a like huge star or whatever, I still would have an issue with the signature because there's nothing about that pedal that is unique to me, right? It's not like I told Frank, I want you to use this particular circuit with these values, etc." Excuse me. It was more like, I would just like to have 2 red llamas in one enclosure, and my only request is a low pass filter. That's it. Like that's all I want. And then he was like, let's add this, let's add that, and then it took on a life of its own. But it was a real collaboration. So that's why when you take the pedal, it just says signature pedal, and that is it. Whose signature? Is it me or is it Frank? Because we both like worked on the idea. He's the one who makes the pedal. So yeah, it was more of a collaboration. And we actually talked about this a few podcasts ago where we're saying like our signature gear, like signature pedals, amps, guitars, is it still relevant in 2024? Like, is anyone going out saying, I really want to buy this because this musician or this artist is associated with this piece of gear? And I think everyone has different takes on it, but that's why I said to Frank, I said, don't put my name on it. You can say we collaborated on it, but it's not going to be like the Jonathan Gilmet pedal. Who the fuck is Jonathan Gilmet? Like the Tone Lounge. What is the Tone Lounge? Like no one knows me. It's like I'm not some huge star, so I don't give a shit. It's like,
but it works both ways. So
whatever,
if I take 2 of our recent signature pedals, the Andy Wood gearbox, Andy was of the same mindset. He didn't want his signature to be big on it, and in fact, that's what introduced the infamous orange on orange scenario, because he said, why don't we just make my signature and this side in a bright orange, and then my signature kind of doesn't show up as well, and people don't look at it, even though anyone who knows Andy knows it's his pedal, but they look at it as a standalone pedal, which is cool. Whereas with the Corey Wong compressor, I mean, the graphic is the word Wong in huge letters with compressor threaded through it, so there was no hiding it. But that had another effect. We sold a lot to people whose surnames were Wong in Asian markets that we didn't expect to, because I guess it's a very common surname. And suddenly you see a pedal and it says Wong compressor on it, and you're like, it's like having the Smith compressor out there, I guess. And so we did sell a few just on that basis, which we never thought of, To be honest, by the time we'd got to the stage of designing the pedal, all the words had jumbled in my brain to nothing anyway. So it was like, okay, fine. So it can work both ways, but I don't think we're going to be actively seeking to do a huge number of those collabs. And I don't think any pedal company is, because I just don't think they're worth the extra effort all the time. We've been really lucky. We've picked very select people to do our collabs with, and we will do some more, don't get me wrong, but it's not something we go out looking for. We don't think, right, who's our next artist to do a collab with? It's hard work, but I think you've done a great job on John's pedal by getting his name off it completely. That's excellent work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's name, man, don't put it on anything.
I have a question for Jonathan. Do you have the game prepared for this session as well, or the question game?
Yep. I got some questions. So the way that we work, Richard, is that usually we end this with me asking some fun little questions just to kind of get a glimpse behind your personal tastes on gear and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start. It's like it can be long and elaborated if you want, or really, really short. It's however you see it. So I'm going to start with the first question. What are your top 3 pedals?
Oh. Okay. Number 1 is a pedal that doesn't release for a couple of months that I can't talk too much about. Brian has made a new pedal. It's not an overdrive, it's not a fuzz, and it's not a distortion. That's all I can say. And I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, when you get, like, you know it's a good pedal because I've constantly been fantasizing in my head about adding it to my board, but I can't add it yet, even though I've got it, because then I'll never be able to take any photos of my board for social media without covering it up, and it'll ask too many questions. But I'm really excited about putting it there because it was the missing link in my chain. So number 1, I'm afraid, is top secret. Number 2 is I'm going to be really, really boring here. But number 2 will be the Wampler Metaverse, because since putting that on my board, I have not looked for another delay pedal. You know, it's literally just gone, yeah, I'm here. I make all of the delays that you will ever need. So it's just absolutely fulfilled my my dreams of a delay pedal. Number 3, and it's funny because I was looking at your boost pedal thinking, oh, that can't be too different, is my own little 10 dB op-amp boost pedal I made. Because it is literally just one single op-amp chip. It is a couple of resistors and capacitors, no tone, just a single knob. And I used, accidentally, when I ordered detented knobs, so it's got 10 marks around it, so it clicks into 10 positions. I didn't realize it when I ordered the pots. That's brilliant for a boost, because each one is basically a decibel, give or take. It's certainly a tenth of the range. And so actually it works really, really well. So it's a single knob boost that I made. I'll probably make some more of them because it's just an 071 op amp, couple of resistors thrown in there. There's nothing to it, but it's clean. It does exactly what you need if you, like me, play different guitars. So, you know, if you're using the Strat on my Soldano, I tend to roll down the preamp and I use the boost on a Strat, and then when I put the Les Paul in, I can kill that boost and I leave the volume where it was, and it equalizes pretty much. So yeah, they're my 3 favorite pedals: Unknown, Metaverse, and the Ollie Boost Mark 1.
Awesome. Okay, so next question. Your top 3 gear companies. That could be pedals, amps, guitars.
So I have to be careful here because it would be very easy to just be nice to my masters and just be like, yes, it is Wampler, Soldano, and Tone King. But I'm going to avoid any companies I work with because that's just too easy to do. So I'm going to say, who are the 3 that I admire the most from where I sit in you know, a tiny little industry position? So number 1, I think Blackstar are killing it in every realm. I think they have taken the amp market, the floor amp market, and the budget floor amp market by storm. And I think they are a company that I really dig. I haven't heard anything of theirs that I haven't just gone, yeah, I get it. And, oh, it's not that expensive. So I think they are absolutely killing it right now. In terms of pedals, there are a couple of companies I really love. Is it Beatronics? I love their pedals. I think the work they put into the aesthetics of those is really first class. I think I would put Beatronics, and I'd also look at Frost Giant and Mythos pedals. Those 3 pedal companies I love. I love the artwork they come up with. I love the designs they come up with. So they would be right up there. I mean, I could easily say JHS because I admire a lot about them. I could easily say Chasebiss, but I really like Beatronics. I know I'm only supposed to say 3, so I'm cheating. But Beatronics, Frost Giant, and not Red Witch, and Mythos. are all pedal companies that every time they release something, I look at and go, really dig that. So they're up there. And then in terms of guitars, I've become really, really into Seth Backus guitars. He is a UK manufacturer, very small scale builder, and he makes some beautiful looking guitars. So again, there are lots of guitar companies I work with. It'd be very easy to just go, I love ESP. I do love ESP. But Seth Backus guitars are fantastic.
Cool. And here's my last question for you. So it's the Desert Island rig. Okay, so there's electricity. You can get everything you want. Like, there's no weird parameters. Like, what's your ideal 1 amp, 1 guitar, and a select few guitar pedals?
I mean, I've almost answered it, but I will answer it like real life here. Soldano SL030 is my go-to amp for everything. It's not the cleanest of platforms, but you can dial it down so it is clean. But the gain on it is to die for. It just has the nicest overdrive channel and the crunch channel. So it'd probably be, I would say the SLO Astro 20 they've just released, but as I haven't got one yet, that wouldn't be fair. So I couldn't actually say it. So I'm going to say Soldano SL030. I'm going to say Fender Professional 2 Stratocaster, but specifically my Fender Professional 2 Stratocaster, which has the humbucker on it as well, because for some reason, I don't know whether I got a good one, it's just perfectly built. Just everything about the guitar. It can do clean, it can do dirty, it can do twangy in between, and it feels great to play. If I didn't have other guitars that I felt the need to rotate, it's the guitar I would play all the time. And if I was going to take just a couple of pedals, I would take a Wampler gearbox, because it is basically a Tumnus, a Pinnacle, and a noise gate. I would also take the Unknown pedal that comes out next month or so, maybe 2 months, I don't know. And I would definitely take a Metaverse, because it's every delay tone ever. And that's enough to give you fantastic sounds on a desert island, I would say.
Yep. I agree. Great choice.
Yeah, definitely great choice. And
right,
plus
there's
one
me
on
answers.
the
No controversy there.
No. It's I could only add that I actually did a video on the Astro 20, and for me it's one of the best releases of the past year, if not in many years, simply because because of the form factor, because it can do any sound that you want, and because if you're nitty gritty about the details of your IRs and however you use the direct out, you'll get an editor that, I mean, a lot of people don't like editors. This one you're gonna like, because it is so easy.
It's very
to
simple,
work with.
right?
And it's super simple. Synergy did a fantastic job with that one. So 100%. The Astro 20 is a kick-ass amp that can definitely get in the fight with a lot of stuff out there that's way more expensive.
Yeah, I've got my name down for one. When they came out, I wrote to Avi, the head of Boutique, and said, "Hey, do you want to maybe, instead of paying me cash, pay me with an amp for a proportion?" He's like, "Yeah, talk to me after Christmas. We're completely sold out." I was like, "Dang!" But that is a fantastic amp. I'm also a fan, actually, of the Engel Iron Ball. Have you seen that? That has, if you said to me what one amp but no pedals, I'd consider the Iron Ball, because it has built-in delay, reverb, different effects, noise gate, all of it. So that is also a fantastic amp, and I'm hoping to try one of those out at some point too. But the Soldano amps, there's just something about the way those overdrive channels sound when they're engaged. They're beautiful, sweet.
Yeah, it's true. Richard, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you so much for for some of the insights. There's some stuff that I didn't know, and we do this podcast simply because we want to get to know people, we want to talk with people, we want to get their what's going on in their heads, and what their views are, and that was really I really enjoyed that.
Good, absolute pleasure.
Very interesting.
Guys, if you need a guest at short notice again down the line, then give me a bell. Obviously, we arranged this one in advance, but I just happened to forget what day. Real pleasure to meet you, Frank, and Jonathan face to face and talk to you both. And keep making awesome stuff. I hope to actually try some of your pedals, Frank, and I hope to send you some exciting things to try, Jonathan.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
And,
right, well, I'm off to do a day's work.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, guys. See you next week for the next episode of the podcast. And until then, be well and enjoy the rest of the week.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.